You're listening to the Terrific Teacherpreneur, a podcast for teachers looking to grow a successful online business. Your host, Alex, was able to transform her Teachers Pay Teachers store from a small side hustle into a profitable full-time business. She now helps other teachers do the same. Listen along for actionable tips and helpful wisdom about business and marketing as a teacherpreneur. Here's your host, Alex.
Hello and welcome to the Terrific Teacherpreneur podcast. I'm actually going to say good morning to you today. It is 6:30 a.m. at the moment. I am up very early, 4 or 5 a.m. most days now. Thanks to baby number 2. It's full on. So by like 9 a.m. in the morning, I feel like I've lived a whole life. It feels like the whole day has gone by and it's only 9 a.m. Anyway, so here I am recording probably one of my earliest podcast recordings, but today I want to talk about sales, increasing sales, all that kind of stuff, seasonal resources. And although this does apply to Evergreen, it's just an example of something that happened to some seasonal resources of mine. And I'm going to be talking about how to increase your sales with some SEO tweaks. I'm going to share some numbers with you. So I get those little emails from TPT where, it shows your daily sales. You can scroll through and see what's selling each day. I've been selling for a really long time, but I still get them. And sometimes I just like to look through them all because I don't want to always be looking in my product statistics on a daily basis, but I like to kind of just get a vibe as I just do a quick scroll and like see what's selling on the day to day. And I noticed 2 products had been appearing a lot in those emails. I was like, oh, these are like worst sellers. They don't normally sell. And so then I went into my data and was like, oh, I wonder if they actually are doing better. I feel like I'm seeing those products a lot. And so, yeah, I'm recording this in November, but as I'm looking at my October data, so we're talking about Halloween, fall kind of seasonal stuff, my highest, I would say bestseller, but highest unit sold, not highest earnings, just highest unit sold for October was a Halloween resource. And it was just it sold the most out of my entire store in October. And it was up 64% from the year before. And I was like, oh, wow, that's quite a big difference. This is a resource that just really doesn't sell that well. And I had a look and I looked at each of those factors of what could it be? Why is it selling more? That kind of thing. Its views were up nearly 80%. So that was pretty much it. It was like it hadn't been getting views before and now it is. I could see that it's been on TPT a while, but in previous years it would get really dismal views each October and therefore not many sales. Whereas, like I said, views went up by 80% and then suddenly, hey, earnings are up by 65%. Units sold are up by 64%. It's like there's a huge direct correlation there. You get more views, you will often get more sales, provided that your resource is decent, etc. And so I was like, okay, so what we've got here is I started basically having a better selling resource, something that's been around for a really long time and it's just performed dismally every October and it's now suddenly doing better, really, really great. And its views went up. And I'm like, oh, well, why? And then I thought back to something I had done the previous month, which was just a couple of SEO tweaks on a handful of resources that, were coming up. And I had really literally just added some keywords to this title. And I hadn't actually overhauled the whole title. I hadn't removed anything. I hadn't changed the keywords already there. I just had happened to realize when I was just, pottering through some updates that it had quite a short title. It just had a very simple, theme, Halloween kind of thing. And then product type. It was just very short. It was literally describing what it is and that's fine. But it hadn't really been serving me for obvious reasons. I hadn't been selling well. And I thought, maybe this is a kind of a short title. I like to have really long titles now. I like to make the absolute most of my character count and put loads of keywords in there. I don't care if people think it looks messy or ugly or busy or whatever, or keyword stuffing, whatever. I don't care. I want to get views on my resources. So as long as it's relevant, applicable keywords, there's nothing wrong with me putting more keywords in. So I'm like, okay, let's add another keyword phrase. Let's, describe it in a slightly different way to how it can be used or whatever. And I just added something to it, literally a couple of words. That was it. So that was a minute I spent doing that. It was very, very quick. I didn't even excessively research keywords or anything. I was just hey, I'm just going to add something here that I think might do well. And yeah, made a huge difference. Interestingly, the conversions are actually slightly down on this resource compared to October the year before, but that didn't seem to have a huge impact to them. Luckily, just having more views, tweaking SEO, getting more views just really massively increased my units sold. Now, no, this resource did not bring me a lot of money. I don't think so. Not for me. I don't know, I can have a certain standard. I think of, I've got certain resources that are quite high priced, bring me quite decent money. And then I have other resources that just priced a lot lower and you have to sell quite a lot of them to really make anything decent from it. And so even though this was, a bestseller in terms of units sold, it was not something that brought like actually a lot of earnings for the month of October. But I just thought it would be an interesting thing to share, a very quick SEO tweak. Adding a keyword to a short title, like a keyword phrase to a short title, made a massive impact. And so something I kind of wanted to recommend. I want to give one more example though. And this one is not quite as exciting, but it was more of a fall themed resource. And it had, the data sounds better, but the actual earnings is pretty dismal. But basically, the year before, it had sold, I think, I don't know if it was negligible. It was such a worst seller. It had 41 views the year before this resource in October. 41. So like nobody was seeing it. It was, it was really not great. And then this year it was on 149 views. So that's like a 263% increase in views, which is huge. Again, the views are still dismal. 149 is not, really great views, but it's like compared to 41, it was something. And so the units sold went up by 345%. Now, like I said, this is not exciting data. Hear this, because the actual money I made from it is really not much at all. But it's an exciting thing because it's growth, and that's always something I take as a win. So last year in 2024, it had made me $26.40. So that's and look, I don't want to sound all privileged. I think that there are many people who would take $26 from one resource in a month as a win. They'd be very excited about that. When I was a newer seller, that was great, because as a newer seller, you may be earning $100 a month. So that's a decent chunk of money. $26 is nothing to be sniffed at. I don't want to sound all snooty here. There's nothing wrong with that. But that, compared to what I'm currently earning on a lot of other resources, is just, for me, is considered a worse seller. So yeah, I just want to make that very clear. It's not a big complaint, just in comparison to what I sell, that's not huge. So I just want to make that clear. And so it went up a 345% increase and made me $117.60. And so, yeah, like I say, compared to I'm earning 4 figures a month. So a $100 sort of product that month doesn't make like the most massive difference to my sales. But I like to stay grounded, and I like to look back and say, well, when I started on TPT, I used to earn 3 figures. So I would earn $100 a month. So $117.60 from just one resource, that's cool. I like to always look back and be realistic about that and say that like that's really cool that one resource can bring me that money. And that's something really great. What can you do with $100? That's a lot of money. That's awesome. So I guess it's tough. Talking about these things is really tough, because I know that I have 2 very different types of listeners. And so there's, there could be an experienced seller listening to this that makes $10,000 a month, and they think, you made $100 from resource. That's kind of lame. Like, they're not going to think that's wow worthy. And then someone else that earns $100 a month thinks, oh my goodness, they made $100 just from one resource. My whole store makes $100 a month. And I know I've got 2 very different listeners. So when I say these things, I know it lands very differently in people's ears, and it's very hard for me to talk about, because I don't know. I don't want to sound, it's honestly, it's just very difficult. You could say something, you sound excited about it, other people can think it's lame. Or you're gonna say it sounds lame, and other people think you're really full of yourself. So I can't win. I don't even know how to talk about these things. Honestly, that's why I don't talk about data, because I think it's just too hard. But I thought it would be just interesting to share. Like, let's just take the numbers out of it, all the money amounts and stuff, and just say, hey, I had another resource that had a big increase in views and units and earnings, and that's really cool. And let's talk about that. So, money aside, again, an SEO tweak on a seasonal resource. And so I went for this one. I gave the whole title an overhaul. So not just adding something, it already had a lengthy title. I redid it all. And that was more than a minute kind of thing. That was more me going into search, incognito mode, researching terms, checking where I ranked. Okay, I'm not ranking for anything. Hence why I only got 41 views last year. And then going, okay, what can I try this time? And I think I still need to tweak it, because 149 views is nothing crazy in the TPT world. Obviously, it's better than 41, but it's nothing crazy. There's probably still some more SEO tweaks I could do. But I did something and it made a bit of a difference, and that's really, really cool. Anyway, the point of all this rambling is to say I did reasonably quick SEO tweaks on 2 of my resources. That's just 2. I did a lot of SEO tweaks. I see a lot of increases in different products, but I just wanted to do 2 examples. That's just 2 SEO tweaks that were fairly quick to do and resulted in me earning a lot more money in October compared to the year before. And that's a really cool thing. And I like to talk about this kind of stuff because I think we tend to spend our time really poorly. I had someone recently just post in my Facebook group for sellers, the Terrific Teacherpreneur, and this is what they said. I hope they don't mind me reading this. They said, how do you know what to prioritize when you have a million different things you could be doing? I have a to-do list a mile long for my store, blog, social media, a list of ideas for products to make, updates to do, bundles to finish or list, blog posts. How do you choose what to do first when you have limited time? Working full-time as a teacher, they said. I think many of you listening can relate to that, whether or not you're working full-time as a teacher, but that's literally everybody as a TPT seller. We have this to-do list that is a mile long because there's a million things we could be doing as a seller. We could be posting on social media. We could be writing emails. We could be writing blog posts, Pinterest, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, creating new products, previews, covers, thumbnails, SEO. Like there's so many things you can do, which makes TPT really fun and interesting. There's a lot of choice. But what gets really overwhelming is that you're like, I've got so many things to do or so many things I could do. What do I choose when I'm limited on time? And so I literally replied back to her and I said, there's an episode, you should check it out. And I'm going to say to you as well, if you're listening, go back and listen to this episode. It's the episode called The Tasks in Your Business That Will Increase Your Sales. And it was released in this year, 2025 in July, episode 179. Check that out because I share this really powerful analogy about where you should spend your time. Anyway, to circle back to this episode, basically, there are certain tasks that are really, really profitable and worthwhile doing, and other things that just aren't. And so I could have spent 20 minutes making a social media post and it probably would have brought me like absolutely nothing, no traffic, no sales. Social media doesn't do a lot for me personally. But instead I spent 20 minutes, whatever, that month doing some SEO stuff. And like that literally was like ka-chings. So I think just a little reminder, sometimes I think that we have to spend our time wisely. And I think spending time on SEO is probably the best thing you can spend your time on. And I mean it, like when I say the best. There's a lot of great things to spend time on. Previews are really, really great. Thumbnails are really, really great. Like those are really powerful for conversions. But I've always said you can have the best preview in the world. That doesn't matter if no one's seeing your resource. If you're not getting views, there's like no point in having a beautiful preview. So the first line of defense is like figuring out why you're not getting seen. Why don't you have views? You've got to fix your SEO. Once you're getting views, then you can start making great previews or whatever. So the best thing you can do is views. The best thing you can do is SEO. Like that's just going to massively increase your sales. Whether you're a new seller, an established seller, whether it's a new resource, old resource, obviously the resources with like 20 views need it done, but there are resources that probably get thousands of views, but you could be getting more views. Like SEO is, I don't know, I've had like a funny turn in the last year or so. Could not care less about SEO if you'd asked me like 3 years ago, just like barely spent any time on it. I'm really into it in the last year or so. I find myself, if I get a short pocket of time, because I'm really busy lately, I've got 2 kids now, but I might just dive in and just do an SEO tweak because it just feels like I can do it in a short period of time. It feels kind of manageable, and it's not easy or fun or anything like that, but it feels like something I can do that isn't like starting a whole new product. That just feels like that goes on and on and on and could take me days, and I've got to stop and start. And when you just want that kind of, what can I do in 20 minutes? I love SEO. And I feel like it's the only thing I can do that I feel really 100% confident is going to, if I do it well, is going to increase my sales. And I do not feel that confidence with anything else in my business. Not really. Because I love email marketing, but I could send an email and it just doesn't do anything. There's always that risk with a lot of marketing that it just doesn't pan out. It just brings absolutely no sales. So but SEO, I don't know, I just feel like there's so much potential there for getting views. I don't know, it's really powerful. Anyway, end of rant on that. In summary, for your seasonal resources coming up. So if you're listening to this and it's not yet Christmas, like maybe you want to do this for your Christmas resources, but of course it can be done for certain seasons, spring, winter, fall, whatever. And obviously if there's a holiday kind of thing coming up, Christmas, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Halloween, things you've got in your store that fit into those categories, and you're thinking, last year I didn't get many sales. Go and have a look at your dashboard. You probably find you weren't getting many views last year. How can you get more views this year on those seasonal resources, therefore more sales? Go and tweak your SEO, go to incognito search, check the search terms you currently have for those titles, see where you're ranking. You're probably not ranking very well, or those search terms aren't that great, no one's looking for them, whatever. Sometimes there's nothing you can do, but a lot of the time, a change or adding some keywords makes a massive difference. And it's just all about experimenting. Like, you could try something, come back the next day, fine, you've chosen a new keyword, you're not ranking for it, and you go try again. And sometimes you might settle on something and then you just have to wait and see, and maybe it doesn't pan out. You change your Christmas title to a new one and it still doesn't bring you any sales this Christmas, and like, that sucks. Next year you'll try again, right? But I just think it's worth doing. Definitely worth doing. Like, if you don't change anything, nothing changes. So great for seasonal. But like I said at the beginning of the episode, this is great for all resources, for evergreen stuff too. SEO is great for everything. I just think it's fun to look at the upcoming month or two and say, well, what seasonal resources do I have? How can I get more views this year, and make some SEO tweaks? Okay, well, that's everything I wanted to share. I'm really hoping that this has helped. Overall, I just want to remind you, SEO tweaks can be so powerful, and they are really nice. I don't know, feel like a manageable thing you can do in a kind of a short period of time. They don't have that feeling of a huge, long project. It's almost like you can just kind of quickly log into your computer, pick a resource, do an SEO tweak. It can be done in like half an hour or something, 20 minutes, even less maybe. It's not something that you have to, it's not like starting a new project where you've got to like make a product and it could take you months to make. I don't know, it just has that feeling of like a quick task, which I love. And you can do it confidently knowing it's going to increase your sales if you do it well. And if it doesn't, then you go back to the drawing board and you start again. But it's got a very high ROI, I think, a return on your investment in terms of time, because it's just going to have a massive difference on your views. So SEO is a great thing to work on. And again, make some SEO tweaks. It's really, really powerful. And I hope that you found this episode somehow inspiring or helpful. That's always the goal. I hope that you have a terrific day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Terrific Teacherpreneur. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Come back for more actionable tips and helpful wisdom in the next episode with your host, Alex. Until then.